Hello, everyone. Welcome to you all. Welcome to our regular viewers of the channel and to those who may just be dropping by. As I promised some time ago, that I would add a few lives for those who like to interact using this platform. Thank you for bearing with me because I know it's been a couple months since I said that. But we are finally able to carve out some time to connect with you in this way. So thanks again for joining me for tonight's session. Hopefully, you had a chance to listen to the series, Paying for the Sins of Your Forefathers. If you did, let me know in the chat. I also want to know if the information was helpful to you. So go ahead and let me know if you participated or listened to those sessions. So we have a few folks coming in. Oh gosh, several of you. Let's see. Thank you, Sister Maria, for all of your help and support. Mount Zion, Jerusalem. All right now. Yafira or Yafira. I hope I'm saying that right. Hello to you too. Naturally Reborn, thank you for your help and support. Yah's Property. Yes, you are. Sunny. We have a few folks coming in. All right, Kalab, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that first name, so you just have to forgive me on that one. Hello there, Samuel, Calvin, Felicia. All right, Joyce, there you go, sister. Thank you as well for your support and your help tonight. Hello there, Chris. Saya. That's pretty. I like that. All right, so the rest of you are joining us, and if I skipped your name, I apologize. I do have a lot that I want to cover tonight, so I will go ahead and get started. So I see some of you saying that, yes, you did listen to the information, that it was edifying and informative. And that's good to know, because I definitely want to make sure that you're receiving, that the information that we're presenting is going to bless and impact your life. And you're saying that you just started listening. Make sure you listen to all four of them. I believe they will be very helpful to you. And Shine said that she listened and it was helpful. So very good. Shalom to you too, optimal training. I need some optimal training. Patricia, yes, it was very powerful. Thank you. Okay, very good. Very good. All right, Shelly. Yes, I listened to all your videos. All right now. Ruhama. Yes, I listened. Very edifying and informative. Jennifer, shalom family. Shalom to you as well. All right, Trini Puppy. Shalom from Trinidad and Tobago. All right now. Okay, I can see the beaches right now. Shalom to you. And let's see. William, shalom to you. And Floyd, shalom to you as well. All right, so what I wanted to do with these live sessions was to continue the discussion. So they will, pertain to the weekly sessions that I'm already doing. I don't really want to branch off into something different, not unless it's a topic that the Most High is wanting me to cover using this platform. So you will see that these will be like extensions to what we've already been talking about in the live sessions. And in this session in particularly, I want to just cover some things that I didn't get a chance to cover during the weekly sessions or while I was doing the series, because I believe as a people, we need to learn how to use our voice. And what I mean by that is that we've allowed others to shape the narrative regarding how we should think, how we should feel, and respond to slavery. Initially, we were not allowed to show any emotion. You just had to take it and bear it. You were not allowed to talk back, say anything, to show that you were suffering. You just had to suffer in silence. And those who did the deed and profited from it, they prepared themselves long ago to defend themselves and their wealth. So they have created talking points, and they have created these talking points and a narrative to sidestep the issue of slavery and reparations. I'm sure that you all know that. So we hear the argument over and over again now about how schools need to change how the subject of slavery is taught. But as you can see, this push against critical race theory, and you all, it's not even taught in schools. It's only taught in some colleges, mostly law schools. So, you know, this is what I'm talking about. They have created a narrative to make people believe that teachers are teaching critical race theory in the schools. And that is absolutely false. But then again, we know that this is how the enemy operates, through deception. And there are those who want to be deceived. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to hear about it. So they will not even research to find out if this information is true or not. They just accept the information that's being presented to them. So we can see with this push that they have going on that those who want to protect the ideology of white supremacy will not allow the truth to be taught. They will not allow this to be taught in the schools. And right now, this is a major talking point for politicians. And once again, they have created the talking points, and their voices are loud and clear. Some of the things they're saying, well, talking about slavery and what happened during slavery will hurt children. Most of you know or have heard of Senator Marsha Blackburn. She said it's dangerous. It's dangerous to teach the truth. And she says the information is used to brainwash children. She also says that it's encouraging our children to be ashamed of the color of their skin. So, of course, she has created an entire campaign around this. If you visit her site, that's the major topic, saying no to critical race theory. And then some other things they say is that critical race theory is against free societies. In other words, those who try to promote the idea, they want to portray them as communists, liberals, and they hate this country. And that's why they want to divide us by talking about race. So then there are others who say it's a racially motivated propaganda campaign. It's just propaganda. It's not anything, that we should take serious. It's nothing that we should know about. Do you have any other talking points you've heard about? If you can put that in the chat, we can see what else is out there. But those are the top three that I know about or I've heard about. And I know that there are others, and you're welcome to share the ones that you've heard as well. But they, as I mentioned, those who want to keep us in the dark about history, um, they're going to fight back. And as I said, their voices are loud and clear. They have already prepared themselves to defend their position. Have we? Have we prepared ourselves to defend truth? So, Jacob's people, shalom to you as well. And yeah, the series is on point. And you say, I love the idea of using the live as a springboard. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, Hebrew Kingdom, we hear it happened so long ago. We're not responsible. Yes, that is one that we hear often. Shelley, that was then, this is now. And are you not? Yes. Are you not prospering? I mean, you're much better off, aren't you? Yes, that's another one that we hear quite often. So, again, those are things they use to shut our mouth. You know what? I want to say not shut our mouths, to keep our mouths closed because we've had our mouths closed. We have really not been responding to these things that are going out there. And I'm really disappointed in a lot of our Black politicians because they have not been vocal about any of this, I don't feel. And I think a part of that is because of the votes. They don't want to make anyone mad. They don't want to rock the boat. But yet you have this other group, they are loud and proud, proclaiming and saying, we are not going to do this. And this is why we're not going to do it. When we should have those, our people who are in those positions who are defending why we need to say this and be just as loud about it, just as vocal in saying that we need to say that. Walter, yes, thank you so much. I hopefully, that people are being blessed by this because I do believe this is the will of the Most High for us. So I want to share some information with you. Hold on a second while I switch gears here. And what I really want us to do as a people, and that was the purpose of this message, I believe that the Most High wanted to come forth in this series, is that we have to present our case. We have to start vocalizing and opening our mouths. We have to start talking back because too many years have gone by, centuries have gone by, and we have never been able to present our case, to say what happened to us. We've been told lies. We've been told half truths. And a lot of it came from the churches, unfortunately. So we have to say what really happened. And we've been miseducated by the oppressors. They've given us a history. They tell us what happened to us. And, some of the things that we've heard, we know that it's not true. It is absolutely not true. So we need to get out of the business of making our oppressors comfortable. No more. We need to make them as uncomfortable as possible. We need to put the facts out there. We need to be loud about it, share it so that people know the truth. They may prevent it in the schools, but social media can be used, word of mouth can be used, talking to your family and friends. So we need to make sure that we are talking back. No more are we going to just sit back and let them tell us how we should think, how we should feel, particularly, the old saying, oh, well, you just need to walk in love and we just need to forgive. Yes, you can be forgiven, but the fact of the matter is you need to pay the price, the consequences for what your ancestors did. And we need to be vocal in saying that. So I have some information that I'm going to share in this session with you because these are some things I want us to think about as we go on with this. And this article, the link is here if you would like to look it up on your own and read the entire article. I'm just going to highlight some things. And the title of this is How is Slavery Taught in America? And it's a school struggle to teach it well. Well, we also know that there are those who are in certain positions making sure that it is not taught or that is not taught well, or it's slanted so that it makes it seem like it was not that bad. So I'm just going to highlight some excerpts from this article. And it's talking about things historians, educators, civil rights advocates what they're saying. And they're saying that they want to change how schools teach the subject. And then it says the failure to educate students about slavery prevents a full and honest reckoning with its ongoing cost in America. Teaching the truth about slavery, critics argue, could help remedy that, but they don't want to remedy that. That's the point. They are not interested in remedying that. So it goes on to say, but that means acknowledging and exploring slavery's depravity. It means telling the personal stories of enslaved people, the physical and psychological cruelty they endured, the sexual violence inflicted upon them, the separation of husbands and wives, parents and children. So, this is the truth that they don't want the general society to know because it's not in their best interests. And this is part of the problem. The oppressors shaped the narrative. So they gave us maybe 5% of our history, which is to say, you came here as slaves and your own people sold you into slavery. Or some of the comments made, well, you're prospering now. So let's go on with this. Let's see what else it says. So it says the difficult truth means explaining to students not just how this practice of institutionalized evil came to be, but also how it was accepted, embraced, and inculcated in American daily life since enslaved Africans were brought to Jamestown, Virginia 400 years ago. So it says it's not accepted by everyone, of course, but by enough that it was protected by laws, reinforced by practice, and justified or excused in all corners of the country. And we cannot neglect to mention the role that religion played. It played a huge part in how those who said they were Christians viewed the institution. There were passages used from scripture to justify it. However, they did not, or they failed to mention that the slavery that was enacted by the Europeans looked nothing like the slavery talked about in scripture. Nothing. It was nothing like that at all. But they neglected to mention that part, or they removed those parts from the Bible so that it wasn't taught. And oftentimes, when we hear preachers preach from the Bible, sometimes it's them saying what they have heard, or they preach what has already been taught. And we can see that now as we're beginning to study the scriptures for ourselves and go back through what the text actually said. How is it that we didn't know that Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9 existed? How is that possible? It was because there's a narrative that's out there. There are things that you say and things that you just don't say because you don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. And it's time to change that. We have to stop that. The Most High is a God of truth. He desires truth in the inward parts, and we need to embrace truth, whether it's comfortable or not. It has not been comfortable for us understanding who we are as a people and what our ancestors did. That has not been comfortable for us. So, why do we need to make everybody else comfortable? I don't think so. We need to start speaking the truth. Let's keep going with this. So, the article says throughout the 20th century, textbooks often glossed over slavery, treating it not as central to the American story, but as an unfortunate blemish washed away by the blood of the Civil War. Can I also add that they see it as an unfortunate blemish washed away by the blood of the Lamb? It's all under the blood, folks. We don't need to talk about that now. We've been forgiven by Christ. So that's over and done with. This is the narrative that we have been presented with. And the problem has been that we didn't know how to defend it. So we said nothing. We had no response. And you've heard me say several times, reaction is weakness, response is strength. We've had no response. We didn't know how to come back and challenge that. Well, now we do. So it's time for us to start talking back. All right, it goes on to say students rarely learned that slavery had for a time been prevalent in the North, or that the economy of the North was long reliant on the South's slave labor production. Most of us were not taught that. We were only taught that it was the South, doing all of the wicked things, and the North really didn't see it that way. No, that's not true. They had a part. They prospered from the institution of slavery as well. So it says the enslavement of Native Americans, which predates the arrival of the first enslaved Africans, was mentioned only in passing, if at all. And it says many baby boomers were fed tales in school that masked the reality of slavery. Some teaching even emphasized the idea that Africans brought here in chains were actually better off. And I'm sure most of you have heard that it was for our own good, actually, because it allowed us to be Christians. I'm sure if you heard that one, put that in the chat for me. Just yes, that you heard that one. I've actually heard pastors preach that it was for our own good, that we were taken into slavery, that we're better off as a result. So these are things that we need to start challenging, because now that we know the truth, we have to speak the truth. We cannot continue to allow others to shape this narrative and tell us what we should believe, what we should think. And I do believe that a lot of what's coming against us now is coming from the religious sect, the Christians, who are saying, well, we just need to love each other. We need to move on from this and allow Messiah to heal us. We shouldn't keep bringing up a topic that's going to divide us. We need to talk about things that's going to bring us together. We need to be one. Well, can I just tell you, we cannot come together and be one based on lies. We cannot be one when we still have a group of people who believe they are superior because of the color of their skin. Laura says, I was, and ashamed to say, I repeated it in my ignorance. A lot of us did, because we just didn't know. Shelley, some of the comments are going by so fast, I can barely keep up with it. So sorry. I'll try to grab as many as I can. So Kim, family, I totally agree with all that has been said thus far. And Ruhama, we cannot be one based on lies. Yes, we cannot. We have to speak the truth. The Most High desires truth in the inward parts. He is not going to bless a lie. And so we need to create our own talking points. Again, I believe, Frugal Nurse, girl, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you. You are not answering emails. Yep, I'm putting you on blast. All right. But yeah, we have to be able to speak the truth. Yes, speak it in love, but we have to speak what is right. We can't continue allowing others to tell us, well, you shouldn't just talk about this. Yes, Elephant Man. They say we're the one causing division. How is that now? We are causing division because we are speaking the truth. So now a label is being placed on us saying we're hurting children. What we're saying is dangerous to children. Really? Really? We're speaking a propaganda, or we're just making things up. So do you see how they always seem to be 10 steps ahead? So what I want to challenge you all about is I want you to start thinking about our talking points. Where are our talking points? Why should slavery be condemned? Why was it inhumane? Why should it be judged? If you can start preparing some of your own talking points, things that you can have ready at the ready. Yeah, Jacobs, they say we're the woke culture. I would rather be awake, wouldn't you? But we need our own talking points, you all, because when they say these things, if you don't know what to say, you will remain silent. When they were talking about our black skin, our melanated skin, and talking about how ugly it was and, making fun of it, if we had the facts of how powerful our melanated skin is, we could shut them down in an instant. And this is what I'm talking about. You need to arm yourself with facts. You need some talking points. Why is melanated skin superior? Have 3 facts in your pocket that you can whip out. You need to know how to respond, how to clap back, in other words. So I want to go back to the article. I want to cover a few more things. All right, let me get this back here. All right. So I want to look at this next article, and it's entitled African American Slavery in Historical Perspective. Now, I'm going to warn you, some of this is going to get you a little riled up. And I think we need to be riled up because we need to understand who we're dealing with here. So let's look at some of this and highlight some. It says those who want to blame the U.S. South as the chief or only sinner regarding slavery sometimes quibble over words. For instance, claiming that servants in the Bible does not mean slaves. But as John Adams pointed out to Thomas Jefferson, slave was just a word, while the condition of the laboring poor in the North could scarcely be differentiated from that of Southern blacks. In other words, they're saying the poor whites in the North suffer just as much. So why are we belly aching about the blacks in the South? So it says, despite the false information conveyed by television, John Adams was never an abolitionist. The abolitionist, Wendell Phillips, discovered a boy working in a stable in Boston who did not know he was a slave. So, in other words, it was the norm. He didn't know he was a slave. Let's look at another excerpt. It says, just before the revolution, slavery was increasing in many of the northern colonies. Slaves were 10% of the New York population, and household slaves were commonplace in affluent Connecticut households, including clergy. And that is the truth. That is a part of the history that we need to understand. It was not just the South. This was happening it was happening across the United States because they were all benefiting from it. It says Timothy Dwight, president of Yale, wrote a long poem about how much happier the slaves were in Connecticut than elsewhere. Now, you all pause and think on that. So you were happier because you were a slave in Connecticut as opposed to being a slave in Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi. So it says Massachusetts had the first legal regulations for slaves. Newport, Rhode Island was one of the world's major ports for the international slave trade. So in other words, we need to soften it a bit and make it seem like, well, it wasn't that bad. It was only in certain pockets of the United States where it was just really atrocious. So my question is, would those slaves in Connecticut have been able to just walk away and say, I no longer want to be a slave? Could they just walk away and say, I am not going to work for free? No, definitely not. They didn't have their freedom. So we have to change the narrative, family. We really do. We have to start talking back. And when I say changing the narrative, this is why the information was presented about presenting your case in the courts of heaven, because I believe a lot of us, we know that it was our sin that caused us to be in our position. We understand that. But we have scripture telling us when we turn and repent, when we call out to Abba, he is going to hear us. He's going to deliver us. And he's going to judge those who enslaved his people. This is the part of the narrative that we need to get down in our spirit. We need to understand that, yes, we were wrong. But for those of you who have children, when they do something wrong and you chastise them and you punish them, whatever that punishment may be, are they still your children? Do you still love them? Do you still care for them? Do you still provide for them? If someone comes and attacks your child, that one that you may have just punished, are you not going to defend? Here's one thing we need to consider. I believe a big part of them changing or hiding our identity and changing our names and changing the name for the Most High. We couldn't call on Abba. We didn't know him to be our Father because they had caused us to be ignorant of that history. So we weren't calling. We weren't asking for judgment because we didn't know who we were as a people. I believe Calvin said it's game over. Absolutely right. Game over. Now that we know, we need to start saying back to the Most High what he has said. We need to go and find those scriptures that is telling us what he thinks about us, that we are the apple of his eye, that he is going to enter into judgment against those who enslaved his people. We need to remind him of what he has said about us, because as long as we keep our mouths closed, we allow our enemies to prophesy. They keep telling us who we are. And it's always less than the Most High intended. It's never going to be the truth about who we are. So I don't want you to rely on those of us who are sharing this information. I need you to get in those scriptures and start digging. I absolutely love when, I get comments on the channel and they put those scriptures out there that they have found, to corroborate what has been said. And they see how what has been said in the session is necessary for us as a people, because there may come a day where we could go back to the dark ages where they try to destroy the Bibles. They take away your apps or your tablets. You need to get this down in your heart. You need at least 4 to 5 good scriptures that you can put down in your pocket that you can just whip out when you need it. You need those scriptures. Absolutely right, Darnell. We have to keep crying out. And naturally reborn, yes, we have to study to show ourselves approved. So we have to do this, you all. Studying is not something that just happens overnight where you hear it and then you get it down in your spirit. We did a session back in January teaching you how to get it down in your heart. You have to hide it in your heart. The word that's in your heart is what's going to come out of your mouth when you're in a time of need, when you need to respond to the enemy or to respond to his people, his children. You need the word down in your heart. So you have to know who we are. And I believe most of us now are waking up to that truth. Good to see you, Mary C. You're right. We need to get those scriptures in. So we want to get it down in our heart so that we know how to respond, not react. The marches, the riots that's happening in the streets, the laying down in the streets, that's reaction. Has it worked? Has it worked for us as a people in all these years? Has it worked? This tells us that we need to step up our game. What they don't want us to know is the truth. They don't want us to step into our power as kings and priests. Now, think about what kings and priests do. Think about that. They proclaim, they declare, they decree, they rule. So you have to see yourself that way. See yourself the way the Most High sees us. We are his chosen people. He has not changed his mind about our function. So we need to step into the role. The sons and daughters of Zion need to step into their roles, into their rightful place. But you can't do that if you don't know what the word is saying. You need to get this down in your spirit. All right, so a few more comments. Micah, yeah, they have not worked and constantly praying for our enemies. Yeah, yeah, Micah. God bless America, right? So, Natalie, I am reading verses on how he is a consuming fire. Yes, he absolutely is. Kathy, now that we are awakening to the truth, the persecution are going to ramp up. Yeah, I do agree with you there. It is because they need to stop it. And they see it as a movement, but it's not a movement for us. We are reclaiming what is rightfully ours. Frugal nurse, they scared we're going to cry out. We are still in covenant. That's right. That's the part we have to understand. That covenant still stands. And it's not because we did anything, that's so deserving. It really isn't. It's because of the promises he made with our ancestors, with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's also because of the word that he has already declared. The Most High's word cannot and will not return unto him void. If he said it, it has to be done. If you'll start reading the scriptures this way, I'm telling you, it will put a pep in your step, because then when you start seeing what he has said about us and you understand that this has to come to pass, this has to happen, that he's going to judge our enemies, that Joel 3 has to come to pass, it has to happen. You will not allow yourself then to walk in fear or in doubt or to be intimidated, and you'll open your mouth. Often we don't say anything because we don't know what to say, but sometimes it's because of fear. We think if we say something, well, they're going to come after us and we don't want to make them mad. That was something that was ingrained in our ancestors, and that's why they didn't talk back. They were afraid of making them angry. What do you think it was all about when they would make it a public lynching? They wanted it to be public so that our people would be so afraid that they wouldn't do anything to cause them to come after us. Well, we need to, fear is of the devil, it's of Lucifer. We're not receiving that anymore. We are not walking in fear. We have to start talking back and say exactly what the Most High has said. So I want to share some more of this article. All right, let me get this up. All right, so again, we need to change the narrative. So it says most African Americans would not exist today if their ancestors had not come to North America in bondage and enjoyed relatively healthy conditions of living. All right, I know you all. I know you got something to say about that. Let me read it again for you. Most African Americans, most of you all, would not exist today if your ancestors had not come to North America in bondage and enjoyed relatively healthy conditions of living. These are the things I'm talking about right here. These are professors writing these things in books. These are the types of things that are in books that people are reading, and we have not had a response for this lie. This is a lie. But we've not challenged it because we have not known, we didn't know what to say. And again, we didn't know who we were as a people. So he goes on to say African American slavery existed for 3 centuries because it worked. Let's drop down. It says the history of this trade provides several interesting incidents. The great Harvard historian Samuel Eliot Morison relates that the African who led the well-known slave revolt on the ship Amistad after he was freed in the U.S. returned to Africa and became a slave trader himself. There were not a lot of other entrepreneurial opportunities as well. Now notice he cites no sources. What's the name of this African he's talking about? So that we can go and see, is this true? They just say stuff and people take it as gospel. Well, hey, I read it in a book. A professor said that the man who led them back to Africa on the ship, the Amistad, he ended up becoming a slave trader as well. Where's the citations for this? Where's the proof for this? Where's the proof? And how do we challenge this? So this is what I'm talking about. We cannot continue to allow these things to stand. It's time for us to start challenging the narratives. All right, listen to this. It says, Africans on board, talking about those who are on the slave ship, that they were in miserable condition. And then it says the mortality rate on the voyage was about 30%. Now just think about that. 30%. And they're not telling you how many people were on that ship here. It says the vessel that captured the ship was commanded by John Maffitt, who a few short years later would be an outstanding Confederate Navy officer. So listen to what he says. Townsend claimed he had saved the Africans from death in their own land. Now, see, this is how they get those who want to believe the lies in the first place. This is how they get them to keep believing the lie and not be challenged, Because when you hear this and they're saying, slavery was a good thing, it wasn't all bad. So it says he let slip that he expected to make 130,000 from the voyage, which was a staggering sum in those days. And the southerner, Maffitt, took the criminal Yankee Townsend to the northern-born U.S. judge in Key West. That judge refused to take jurisdiction over the Echo for its U.S. and international crime. So they knew it was a crime, and directed the case to Boston, the supposed point of origin of the voyage. Townsend had friends, and the Boston judge allowed him to walk free, even though they knew it was a crime. Because Townsend said he saved Africans from death in their own land. Let's go on. It says, meanwhile, the Echo and its captives were sent to Charleston, where they received, listen to this, sympathetically and provided, where they were received sympathetically and provided with food and clothing. Again, no sources here. We're just saying, we're just taking his word for it that this is what happened. That because they provided for these people they had enslaved and they were sympathetic, well, slavery couldn't have been that bad then. We actually helped them. Listen to this at the bottom. It says, many people over generations have believed that entering into Western civilization and Christianity, even in a subordinate status, was a net benefit for Africans. Again, I know some of you were hot in the chat. I can't see it right now. I'll read it in a bit. But it was a net benefit for us. We're not talking about the net benefit for them. How did they benefit? You see, how did this nation benefit? So, how do we respond to this? This is what I'm saying. We need to know how to respond. So it talks about the Spanish bishop, that he preached against the enslavement of Indians, but thought that slavery was a benefit for Africans. So, what are your thoughts about that? Anne says, I'm burning up. Yeah, it was a benefit to us. This is the narrative, you all, and we have not adequately challenged the narrative. We didn't know how in some cases. And then when you have preachers saying the same thing, well, at least it allowed us to be Christians, then you're like, well, I guess that was a good thing. Felicia says, the lies they tell themselves. Yeah, the lies they tell themselves. Josephine, King David didn't talk about forgiveness before he rocked Goliath's world and took off his head. You got that right. He saw it and he dealt with it. Charles said they didn't mention that we brought the European out of primitive Europe. No, they didn't mention that. And they don't mention the fact that the people that they stole had skills and talents. And that's why they brought them here. They're not going to talk about that. All right. I'm seeing a lot of names. You all, I'm having Yaquaba just got here, sister, but so far they sound like they're crazy. Yeah, they are crazy. Laura says, Felicia, oh, okay. I came out of two different congregations, one after more than 30 years and another after 2. Yeah. Kathy White, no criminal charges against those who was considered not human. No, because they saw us as animals. That's again one of the lies they told themselves. They didn't want to know the truth because they were profiting from the slave trade. They were making so much money that some of the states moved to the top of the chart as far as wealth was concerned, Mississippi being one of them. Mississippi became very wealthy. So, no, they didn't want to see how criminal it was, how inhumane it was. So, yes, Felicia, follow the money. Beautiful Mom says, I agree with TL, pray Psalm 109. Yes, we have to start praying Psalm 109 against this. But family, most important, we have to learn the truth. We have to stop being passive and we need to open our mouths. But we also need to use wisdom. I asked the question earlier about us going in the streets and marching in the streets, laying down in the streets, and doing all of those things. And I asked, how has that worked for us? It has not worked. It has not worked. The marches and the going out into the streets worked for those who pretended to be with us while they were out there in the streets. Everybody else got what they wanted as they marched with us, but it has not worked for us. And this is why we have to present our case to the Most High. We have to appeal to the Most High Yah. That's where we need to take our case. So again, I love the fact that you all are leaving comments and putting it out there, because for far too long we didn't know what to say, and that's the purpose for the series. We have to start learning. We have to start speaking back. We have to start prophesying. We have to start proclaiming what the Most High has said. Deetra says we need to fast and pray. Yes, we need to call for judgment. We need to call for judgment, because the Most High, if we believe him to be righteous and believe that he is just, how can we honestly believe that he is going to allow all of the atrocities that occurred to just go by without consequences? Pamela, thank you. I'm so happy to know that the teachings are helping. That is good to know. That's right, Darnell. Joel 3. Familiarize yourself with that passage. If you don't know, you need to know what that chapter is talking about. It's talking about the judgment. They keep talking about the day of the Lord, the day of the Lord. They don't understand what the day of the Lord is really about. The day of the Lord is about the Most High judging them for how they treated his people. So, yeah, we need to know this information. Let me go back to some of this. I want to cover a little bit more, and then we're going to start wrapping up. So it says, if all white Americans were racist in today's terms, why are historic white Southerners the only people so guilty that their monuments are marked racist and destroyed? After all, Southerners lived with African Americans for generations in a relationship that was not entirely negative, while they were virtually absent from the rest of the United States. Oh my goodness. It says, not to mention that only in Western civilization, and certainly not in Africa, did emancipation become a moral imperative. Christianity and monogamous marriage were not African institutions. Okay, you all chime in on that. So that's another justification for why they did it. Again, they created the narrative. This is what's being taught. They have their talking points. They've memorized them. And we have not talked back. For the most part, we've been angry, reactionary, but we didn't know how to respond It's time for us to learn how to respond, Israel. So I want you, I've covered a lot in this series. Other ministries have been sharing information. Kifa says all the strategies used by our so-called leaders have failed miserably. You're absolutely right. But use the information that we have been presenting to start making your case. It is time for us to make our case, family. We cannot continue to allow the enemy to prophesy to us and about us. We need to start prophesying. And this is why we need to know our true history. Again, I said they've been 10 steps ahead of us, creating a narrative. And for the most part, in our defense, we didn't know the truth. We didn't know it. But now that we know, we need to know how to talk back. And we cannot rely on these politicians to frame the argument, because most of them are not going to speak out unless it's politically correct and it won't cost them votes. Mary C. said, not my leaders. Who gave them the role as our leaders? Well, we know how that system works, this beast system. This beast system. So yeah, we need to speak out because they're not going to, Mary C. They most certainly will not. They claim to represent us. But do we see what happens when they get in office? They make all kind of claims. When it's time for them to be voted into office, they are, just so great about highlighting the problems in our community when they're running for office. But then when they get in there, their lips are zipped. Felicia says we need to pray for spiritual discernment. You are absolutely right. Neo Beta, this is how you know they hate us. Nothing is bad. And that comment just went by so fast, I didn't even get a chance. Let me see if I can. He says, nothing is bad if it happens to us. That is racism and oppression at its core. They can rationalize anything they do to us, but they have laws saying we can't defend. But they have laws. You're right. And that's how they cover themselves. They use laws. They write the laws to protect themselves. And that's why this system is so wicked. Good Vibes said Biden got on his knee and did a jail pose with the brothers, then turn around and force the jab on us. Ain't that the truth? Yes. So we have to start doing this as a people. We have to take it upon ourselves to learn our true history and share it, share it, share it. Most importantly, we need to know how to pray regarding this. And I think I talked about this in the series to show you how you need to use the scriptures to pray back to the Most High what he has said. And again, as I said, we know our sins got us here. So we know that repentance on our part is needed. Repentance for what our ancestors did. But he says, when you turn, when we call out to him, he's going to hear us. So, and I believe that he is hearing. I honestly believe that. And I do believe that he is fighting for us. So if he's going to judge it, then we need to present our case to the judge. We need to teach the truth to our children. For you all who have children, school-age children, please, please, please stop relying on the school system to teach your children history. They already told you they're not going to do it. They are not going to do it. And they are only going to tell them what they want them to know, which is you all came here as slaves. So just think about your third grader, your son, sitting in the classroom, and he's being taught, well, you were brought here as slaves. And he's sitting next to this this Caucasian child, and being taught about how great their ancestors were, how they built everything. And that's pretty much all your child is that they were brought here as slaves. You are doing them a disservice if you are not teaching your child history. You have to teach it. They already told you they're not going to allow it. Now, when they can fight against teaching the story of Ruby Bridges, you should know that they're not going to teach them anything else. And right now you have the room moms who pretend to go into the classrooms to help the teachers. They're in there so that they can listen to hear what's being taught. And if anything is mentioned about slavery or race, then they go back and say the teacher is teaching critical race theory. So you owe it to yourself to teach your child about this history. You have to do it. So don't rely on the school system. We can't do it. We need to tell our friends and our family members, share it, tell them whether they want to hear it or not. It's like, well, at least I told you. If you want to continue to be ignorant, then that's on you. But at least I'm telling you. And then when you hear Europeans, those who start repeating their narrative back to us, you need to start calling them out. Don't just sit and listen. Don't just sit and let them prophesy to you. Open your mouth and talk back. Challenge them. You only need to do it 1 or 2 times, and they won't say anything else to you about it. But you need to open your mouth and talk back. Again, you don't want to react. You want to respond so that we can change the narrative. The oppressors have been talking for far too long and giving us a history that they invented. It's time to show them that we know what they did, why they did it, and how they did it. And then we need to be just as loud in proclaiming their judgment. We need to be just as loud, proclaim what the Most High has said. And this is why I say you need to get some scriptures that you can whip out, write it down on something, put it in your phone or something. You need to know who you are as a people, be able to defend it. I believe we've given you more than enough to know how to defend that case. You need to know who we are. Your children need to know who we are. Start walking in your authority. The Most High honored us by giving us a heritage. It was our fault that we were cut off from it. But it does not negate the fact, family, that He honored us. He honored us. So let's honor our own heritage. Speak the truth. Speak the truth about who we are. So I'm going to start wrapping up. I want to highlight a few of your comments before we bring this to a close. You all, is going by so fast. I'm trying. All right, Felicia, praise Yah for honoring us. Good Vibe says, judge them, Yah, it's coming. Please share the source and location of the article. Okay, I thought I had that. Let me go back to it and see where that is. Give me a second so that I can pull that up for you. All right. Let me go back. I'm going to have to go back all the way to the beginning. Let me see if I can get that right quick. I honestly thought I had highlighted that for you. My apologies. All right, here it is. Right back. I don't know if you can get a screenshot of that, but if you type that into your browser, you should be able to pull it up. That's the title, African American Slavery in Historical Perspective. And there's the link right there. So if you type that into your browser, you should be able to pull that up. All right. Okay, so let's just go back to a few of these. Frugal nurse, yes, I uplift my sons. Oh gosh, let me go back to your comment. I uplift my sons, age 25 and 30, about who we are. It is our heritage, even though I just learned 3 years ago. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anne says, thank you for this lesson and all of your lessons. Learning so much. So glad to hear that. Jennifer, may Yah bless you, my sister. Thank you. Thank you. By Yah. Ignorance is now a choice. Yes. Yes. Say that. Ignorance is now a choice in this age of information. We cannot claim to be ignorant anymore. No more. No more. Kim Bentu, get ready, family. Hasatan is bumping up the flags for the removal of the Second Amendment. Let your fire fall. Yes, 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 yes. Todd says late to the live, but we'll catch it on repeat. Please do. Joyce, yes, the oppressors has been telling us lies for centuries. Yes, I agree. We need to be confident, loud, and bold about our heritage. Awesome teaching about we're the people of the Bible. Absolutely. And Mr. the Original School. All right, now I know who I am and whose I am. The Most High is the one that gives the understanding to those that continue seeking for his guidance through the Spirit. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jennifer Mayotte. Okay, I think I've covered that one already. Mary C. Do more live, sister. Well, let me just tell you, Mary C. Ooh, this has been a work in progress. I believe right now we'll be able to do at least 2 a month. That's what we're working on. And we'll put out notices in advance. But again, it will be covering the things that we cover in the workshop, just adding some more insight or making an extension, making it an extension to what we've already covered. But for right now, yeah, pray for me. Right now, we can do 2. All right. Let's see. Kathy says, we've been delivered before these earthly judges, and the Messiah said, don't take no thought on what you will say. And now the Most High is saying, I'm giving you what to say. Get my word and declare it. Prophesy. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, Harold, I'm at the airport to shelter myself. Oh, at the airport to shelter myself? I'm hoping it's nothing going on there. I'm not sure what that means. Harold. Okay, Mount Zion. These demons are bumping up the all what? These demons are bumping up the all-out war on us. Okay. Yeah. Felicia, it does not matter what they do against us. If we trust Yah, no weapon formed against us will prosper. Absolutely. Absolutely. Lynn said they have a double portion coming. Let's see. Miss Love says once a week. Child, Miss Love, you better start praying then. Because right now we can only squeak out 2 a month. Hadassah says, my sons and I watch all of your videos. You teach so beautifully. Thank you, sir, very much. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. All praises to Abba Yah, I tell you. Nan says, Judah, just love each other and we will get there. We will. We will get there as a people. We really will. Robert Haynes, can't wait till Sunday morning. Okay. Okay. All right. So, I am going to start wrapping this up. I was trying to only make it an hour so that our moderators won't be on the line too long, trying to field some comments. So far, I appreciate all the comments. Were there any specific questions regarding the series? And again, regarding the series, you all. Any specific questions before we wrap up? I'll take a few. All right. Thanks. A colored girl. Thanks for your delivery and continued prayers. Thank you for the prayers. I appreciate it. Deetra, remember we have dominion. Absolutely. We have dominion over these demons. Mr. the Original, scared because the truth is out there. Yes. Our Brew Queen, continue to pray. Just Floyd, okay. Just explain to them their fate. Jeremiah 50 and 51. Devore, yeah, they can't put us back to sleep. That cat is out of the bag. It's out of the bag. So I do appreciate all of the other content creators joining me tonight. Frugal Nurse, Maria. Um, if I missed anyone, my apologies. Good vibes. Um, did I miss anyone? Because I would like for you all to know, who else is teaching and sharing this truth. I mean, the Most High has given me specific things to speak on, but there are other content creators out there just, doing a great, great job. I learn from them as well, because we definitely can't say that we all have it all, and we're learning from each other. So I'm appreciative of their work. Oh, there you go. Tio. I always get that one. I don't know if I need to say Tito, Teotw Ministries. All right. Shout out to you all. They are doing a great job. I appreciate the work. There are so many that I have learned from in the awakening. I still put some of Pastor Darby's messages on replay. The Whited Out series by Deborah and Watchman. Yes, I revisit them often. And again, I don't want to Pastor Omar. There are a lot of them that I tune into and I listen to. So I appreciate all that the other family members are doing to get this word out. Kathy said, every word that rise up against us shall be against us. The Most High shall condemn. We need to start condemning the words spoken over us. I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. So, Anne says, Covenant Awakenings told me about you. Well, all right. Shout out to Covenant Awakenings. Thank you. Yeah, Whited Out series, man, they did an excellent job with that series, I tell you. Tio says heathens will make it before. Tio says heathens will make it before Bantu. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying there. I'm not sure what that means. All right. Keith says, I listened to all of your teachings. You have really revealed a huge amount of information. Did you ever look up the Bantu language in Aramaic? Oh, Keith, are you trying to give me another job? No, I haven't. I'm sorry. Natalie, great recent video by Stephen. I did see that recent one. Yes, I did enjoy that as well. Covenant Awakenings and that ilk are still Christians. We all started somewhere, is my comment on that. And you all know me now. But my brother introduced me to the truth almost 15 years before I had my awakening moment and realized that some of the things that he had said to me was true. So don't give up on folks, keep praying them through. I look, I was one of those hardcore ones. I would have defended that, honey. Like, yeah, I was going on in on him. So just don't give up on them. They're going to get there. It took me some time. It really did. And I believe we will all wake up in time. The Most High knows what it's going to take to get us to that place. And I believe most of you have heard my story of how I woke up. And after I did, and I had to remember, my brother told me this years ago, and I did not accept it. So just trust Yah, trust the Most High. And sometimes, even though they may not be voicing the truth, sometimes their wheels are turning and we're forcing them to go back and check scripture and reread things. So just don't throw them out yet. Just know that they'll get there. Keith says we're all learning and making mistakes all the way. Yeah, we really are. We really are. We'll get there. We'll get there. So you all, it is 9:16. I did want to make it for an hour, which I believe we covered an hour and then had about 15 minutes here. So Zara is saying Ozzie Davis' cousin and our great grandfather didn't read write English. He spoke Hebrew. It's documented. Wow. Now that is good to know. Yeah. See, and oh, I'm trying to remember who it was that brought the information out about the church in Savannah, the pews in Savannah, where Hebrew was written. Was that Benaiah? Um, I think that was Benaiah. Thank you, Diamond. I appreciate hearing that. But yeah, the truth is coming out now. Oh, that was Pastor Kelly. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the truth is coming out that we are the people, and a lot of this information was known, of course, covered up. So now that we know, I can't remember who it was that said earlier, ignorance is no longer an excuse for us, you all. We have to grab this information and hold on to it and not let anyone, you should be able to see these things proven in scripture. So don't let anyone take the truth away from you about who we are as a people. So, all right, you all. So we are going to wrap it up again. Thank you for joining us for this session. Thank you to the moderators for assisting tonight. And Frugal Nurse, send me an email, lady. I have been trying to reach you. All right, you all. I am going to wrap it up now. Remember who you are, Israel. Start talking back. It's time to present your case to the Most High. He is the righteous judge, and his word will not and cannot return to him void. So I hope this session has been a blessing. If you do me a favor and share it with others, you're also welcome to make comments once it's broadcasted. You can make your comments there as well, but share it. Hit like as well, because the more that we do that, it will allow others, our other members of our family, our people, to wake up, to learn about the videos, etc. So hit like, be sure to share it, and join me next time. Shalom, everyone.